Hey everybody, it's Pravus. I have decided that I need to take a break from YouTube starting next week. And I wanted to create this video to give you guys a heads up that that is going to be happening, and also go a little into why I think that's necessary for the sake of my mental health. Now, some of you guys I know don't want to hear about all that. You just want to know when I'm coming back. Fair enough. I'll go ahead and lead with that information. Right now, I'm planning on taking off a minimum of 2 weeks, though there is a very good chance that that will be extended to a full month, maybe 2 months, or even longer, depending on how a lot of different things go. I'll keep you on the loop about that. There will be some exceptions because I've made certain promises and obligations, and I always try to fulfill those. So, for example, I promised my audience and the developers of Real Politics 2 that I would be doing a couple of videos on that when the game releases later this month. So that's going to happen. Also, private patron streams for my top-tier patrons, etc. So you'll see some spatterings of content from me. But starting next week, after I have concluded the ongoing series that I'm doing right now, my regular daily content will be going away for, again, at least 2 weeks, most likely a month, maybe longer. We'll see. Okay? Now, as far as my reasoning why, I don't want to go into an inappropriate amount of detail about some of this, but I think a few years back, in another video talking about some personal crisis and mental health, I talked about the fact that I was seeing a therapist, and I have been seeing one for, I think, about 3, maybe 4 years now at this point. And not necessarily because anything's wrong, but because I believe that pursuing good mental health is a key aspect to just personal betterment. And it's something that I think is tragically neglected in the Western culture. We just don't seem to put a lot of stock in mental health, but it's very necessary, and I encourage it for pretty much anybody who has the time and the resources to pursue it. Out of that, we've been trying to explore some different emotional muscles that I have neglected over the last couple decades or so of my life. They have not been exercised much, and we've been trying to fix that. And I think that, generally speaking, that's been a very good thing for me, and it will continue to be in the long term. However, the downside of that is I am more in touch with different emotional sides of me than I normally would be. I can't just ignore them and power through and focus on my work like I used to. So 2020 then, the year we've just concluded, was kind of hitting me at an already vulnerable time, and I really got hit from multiple different directions by that year. And the result is, my therapist has been warning me that he is seeing symptoms of clinical depression. And I have not yet received a diagnosis. That would be the next step, to pursue medication. But before I take that step, I'm going to try to fix a few different aspects of my mental state, and hopefully make things a bit better without having to resort to that. But if I do, that's okay. I understand that clinical depression is one of those things that you can't always just power through. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain that sometimes requires medication, and there's no stigma. That's A-okay if that needs to happen. I would just prefer not to, because I have a hard time accepting that, if that makes sense. But part of figuring out what to fix is evaluating what's been hurting me over the last few months, and there's been several different aspects to that. Some of it's physical and not taking care of my body the way I need to. Some of it's been a matter of stress and the fact that my body internalizes it, and it's been hurting me physically in that way. Part of it is the fact that I am overworking myself halfway to death at this point. I've been putting in about 80 hours a week for the last 5 or 6 months, in no small part because I have been working extra hard on YouTube lately, trying to make better content that's got more jump cuts and compressing more stuff so that each video matters more than it did before, but it's really starting to impact me there, and I can't keep doing it. Part of it is relational, because COVID, of course, being what it is, has kept me away from a lot of different social circles. And also just the nature of the controversy around COVID policy and, frankly, the election and everything else has resulted in a lot of people burning some bridges. I had to deal with some really unfortunate betrayal of trust from some people close to me recently. There's a lot of stuff at play here. But where does YouTube fit into that? Well, in that same video a few years back, I think I talked about the fact that I was raised to be a very performance-driven person. My parents believed that pushing me constantly to achieve my full potential would result in a life of good accomplishment and high levels of success. And to that extent, mission accomplished. They instilled that mentality really well in me. I have enjoyed a great deal of success in my life compared to where most people are at my age. It's been great. So I'm grateful to them for that. It's part of who I am. The unintended cost about this is that I never have really been able to feel content with what I have right now, and God forbid that I slip down a couple of rungs in the ladder from that new baseline and I'm not achieving anymore, because that equates to an absolute complete failure and leads to feelings of self-loathing and worthlessness and other such things. Rationally, I know that that's ridiculous, because even if I'm doing worse now than I was, let's say, a year ago, I'm still doing pretty darn well, and I should be grateful for that. And I am grateful, but it's one of those issues where rationality and emotional perspective don't always meet up where they really ought to. So YouTube, then, it shouldn't be surprising, is particularly toxic because of my own little personality quirk and failure. YouTube is a job that very much is dependent upon analytics and seeing numbers go up and down. I know for sure when I'm doing really well, and I feel great when that happens, like we did at the beginning of the year, but when things nosedive or stagnate, it just kind of re-invokes all of those nasty feelings. And as a result, that's why I put in more hours than ever trying to get back up there, and I'm not getting it, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me a lot, and it's putting me in this dark place. And I'm kind of reaching a point where I believe that the only way that I'm going to be able to move on emotionally and start growing where I need to, at least for the next month in this intensive care, is to completely separate myself from one of the driving sources of that anxiety and of those negative emotions. So that's one reason I feel like I need to step away from YouTube. And this is very, very hard for me, because it means I'm basically accepting that I am going to be going down in my achievement. I'm not going to be achieving that next baseline. I'm accepting effectively a failure so that I can do what I think is best in the long term. So this is hard for me, but I think it needs to happen. I think most of you guys will understand that, and it probably is common sense. It's just, I struggle, apparently, for some reason. So during that time, while I am gone, there are several different steps I'm going to be taking, including focusing on my own physical health, working on building up that relational status with a lot of people that I've been neglecting because I've been overworking myself and just haven't had any time. It means working with my therapist and a lot of other people who are wise and very familiar with me and my personal journey, who can help me come to terms with these different quirks and with this performance focus in my life that's gotten me where I am now. I don't want to minimize that. It's been important for who I am, but it also has kind of reached its usefulness. You know, it's now holding me back from becoming a more balanced and healthy person. And I'm going to have to come to terms with that. And that's where this first step comes into play. I also am going to be trying to work a bit more on rediscovering my passion for gaming and YouTube itself, because it's been kind of losing a lot of that joy for me recently. And part of that is going to involve spending a bit more time with you guys. You may have noticed over the last 2 or 3 months, I've been really absent from the Discord community, for example. And part of that's because my natural instinct is to pull away when I feel like I am failing. I don't want to rub my nose in it any more than I have to. And my therapist has encouraged this to the extent of using my self-defense mechanisms, at least to stabilize me so we can work on growing. But I think we've come to the conclusion that that's actually making things worse. It's resulting in a feeling of social isolation, which makes it a lot easier for me to just burn the bridges entirely. I've had conversations about quitting YouTube entirely with my wife, and I don't think that's the right response, because there's been a lot of really good things that have come out of YouTube, a lot of blessings. This is a dream job for a lot of people, and I'm grateful that we've gotten to this point. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of luck, and it's taken you guys getting me to this point. So pulling away, I don't think has been the right response. So during this time, I want to spend a lot more time on Discord talking to you guys and kind of reworking what my business is going to look like going forward. And you guys can certainly be a part of that in terms of helping me figuring out what's important and what's going to make me happy and also make you guys happy. So we'll work on all that too. So there's a lot of work to do, basically, over the next few weeks. It's going to be intensive, it's going to be hard, and it may or may not even work. I really don't know. I'm just trying to trust my gut for once as far as what I need to do and ignore the rational part of my brain that says, no, you can power through it. Because sometimes you can't. Sometimes you need to take a break to focus on the things that are more important in life in order to be a balanced, healthy person. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I appreciate you guys in advance for all the support I know you guys are going to be showing me. It's really appreciated. It means the absolute world to me. So thank you for that. I appreciate your patience as well, because I'll be gone for a bit. Good news is, I got a library of a couple thousand other videos you guys can watch in the meantime if you want. I don't know. 2021 needs to be a better year, or I'm going to burn out. So I'm going to make it a better year, and this is the first step. Thank you all for watching. Again, I appreciate your understanding, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.